Hi, I'm Susan Friedman, Senior Director of Publishing and Content Development at NAEYC.
Hi, and I'm Alissa Mwenelupembe, Senior Director for Early Learning Program Accreditation at NAEYC.
We're going to talk about the new DAP, Joyful Learning for Each Child. We're really excited to have a conversation about what's new in DAP, Developmentally Appropriate Practice, and help you think through how it can help all who work with young children create equitable, engaged learning experiences supported by current research base in the classroom, of course, but also if you're thinking about how to do the very best for young children in the media that you create or toys and books that you create and use. It's a lot to unpack, but there are 4 big ideas to introduce you to what's new in DAP. Okay, here's the first point. What is DAP? DAP is Developmentally Appropriate Practice. It's a research-based position statement and book published by the National Association for the Education of Young Children, and it's used widely in college courses and trainings and as a base for creating effective early learning experiences for young children around the world.
So DAP can seem really overwhelming because it's huge. It's important to remember, though, that it's really just the foundation that holds up the house that we call high-quality early learning. When teachers are getting to know children well and creating learning opportunities based on what they know about them and what they know about how young children learn, they're doing developmentally appropriate practice.
So there are 3 core elements to DAP: the 9 principles of child development and learning, the 3 core considerations, and the 6 guidelines for effective practice. That is a lot to unpack and to learn about. But let's talk about one piece that we talk about a lot, which is teaching the whole child. What does that mean? The research base shows that children learn across all domains: physical, social, emotional, cognitive, linguistic, and that for children, learning is really integrated. They're not learning one thing or another. That's why play is so important in early childhood. It's a way children engage with new ideas and with what they already know across all areas of development. And play can engage children physically, socially, cognitively, and when they have more choices and they choose what they want to do, they're more engaged in learning. And it's also why the research doesn't really support the concept of learning styles, because children use all their domains as they learn. They're not really using just physical. When they seem to be using physical, they're also using cognitive.
The joyful learning aspect of DAP is the part that I get the most excited about. Sometimes when we're so focused on the what of how children learn, we forget about the how, and that how is play. Everything that we teach young children can be playful and include joyful experiences. So while early learning is just as important as 9th grade algebra, it doesn't have to be as boring. Sorry, math folks. These are games, projects, and conversations that include smiles and laughter and play.
Okay, so we're going to talk now about the 3rd point about DAP. Many of the updates to the position statement in the new version of the Developmentally Appropriate Practice position statement are about equity. Teacher context and that of the school has been added to the 3 core considerations, and the principles of child development and learning now have a principle 6, which is about how children's motivation to learn is increased when their learning environment fosters their sense of belonging, purpose, and agency. And right now, the statistics show us that a very high percentage of children who are suspended or expelled in early childhood programs are Black and brown boys. And what does that say about how those Black and brown boys feel a sense of belonging and agency in the classroom if they're being expelled at that percentage? Principle 1 is about the connection between biology and children's and learning. And if children are under stress, they just don't learn as readily. But positive relationships with a teacher can make a huge difference.
The educator's role is so hugely important when it comes to creating supportive learning environments. It's also important that education staff reflect the diversity of the children and families. Every day, teachers are bringing their experiences, backgrounds, and even their biases into their classrooms. Developmentally appropriate practices are a way that early education programs can begin to move towards more inclusive classrooms, which will lead to stronger outcomes for all children.
And here's another point about developmentally appropriate practice. This version of the position statement actually has a principle about technology and media. And it says, when used responsibly and intentionally, technology and interactive media can be valuable tools for supporting children's development and learning. So what does this mean related to representation of diverse children, and how do teachers use media in active, engaged ways that support children's play? And how does understanding that many common experiences children now have are related to their use of media, and how does that help teachers engage children in joyful, playful learning?
I think media is such a hot topic in our field. We have some folks that wish that every child has a tablet in their hand, and others who don't believe there's a role for tech in the classroom at all. What I think DAP shows us is that technology can be beneficial and support young children's learning when it's used intentionally. When educators deeply understand who the children are and what they're interested in, they can find ways to engage them in technology that connects to learning outcomes and fosters joyful learning.